Arsenal fans, welcome back to Gunners Talk Daily. There is a lot happening behind the scenes at the Emirates right now, and with January approaching fast, Arsenal's plans are starting to take shape. From attacking targets to defensive prospects to potential exits, this could be a very important transfer window for Mikel Arteta and Andrea Berta. Let's start with the big attacking name. Many reports are claiming that Antoine Semeno has already chosen Manchester City as his next club. Some sources suggest City have moved ahead of Arsenal and Liverpool in the race for the Ghanaian forward. However, despite all the noise, nothing has been signed, nothing has been confirmed, and until that happens, the door is not closed. In fact, Arsenal are refusing to concede this race. According to Football Insider, Manchester City have not blown Arsenal away behind the scenes. The Gunners are still very much in the conversation and believe they can compete for Semeno's signature. Arsenal still see him as a player who fits their system perfectly. Strong, direct, hard-working and proven in the Premier League. In my opinion, Arsenal staying involved here makes total sense. Semeno brings intensity, versatility and physicality, all qualities Arteta loves. The concern, though, is financial. Arsenal spent heavily in the summer and will need to be smart in January. If the bidding gets aggressive, this one could be difficult to win. But sporting-wise, Arsenal absolutely makes sense for him. Now let's move to midfield and defence, and a very interesting young name. Arsenal are reportedly keeping a close eye on Alexander Stanovic at Club Brugge. The 20-year-old has impressed since joining from Inter Milan and is beginning to show the potential many expected. He can play in defence or midfield, and Arsenal scouts have been watching him regularly. According to L'Interista, Arsenal are keen to stay close to this situation and do not want another club to steal a march. Arteta loves versatile players, and Stanovic fits the profile perfectly. Technical, tactically intelligent, and still developing. This feels like a very Arsenal-type signing. One for the future, but also someone who could grow quickly in the right environment. Now let's talk about the goalkeeping situation. David Raya is firmly Arsenal's number one. His performances this season have been outstanding. Kepa Arrizabalaga was brought in as cover, but opportunities have been very limited. If that continues, Kepa may want more regular football. That's where Diant Ramaj comes in. Arsenal are monitoring Ramaj, currently on loan at Heidenheim from Borussia Dortmund. He has impressed with his composure and consistency, and at 24 years old, he fits Arsenal's long-term planning. This is not an urgent deal, but it shows Arsenal are always preparing for different scenarios. In my opinion, this is smart squad management. Stability in goal is crucial, especially for a team pushing for titles. Now onto defence and a name generating serious buzz. Arsenal are reportedly very interested in AC Milan left-back Davide Bartesaghi. The 19-year-old has taken advantage of Milan's injury crisis and made himself a regular. His performances have caught the eye across Europe. According to reports in Italy, Arsenal are especially keen, with some even saying the club are crazy about him. He is 6'5", strong in the air, dangerous at set pieces and comfortable going forward. He recently scored 2 goals in a draw with Sassuolo, showing his attacking threat. Yes, Arsenal already have depth at left back, but this club has shown time and time again that competition and long-term planning come first. Bartesaghi feels like another defender who could develop into something special under Arteta. Finally, let's talk about potential exits in January. 3 names stand out. Ethan Nwaneri has struggled for minutes despite signing a new contract. If game time does not improve, questions will be asked. Miles Lewis-Skelly has featured in Europe, but not in the league. With a World Cup coming up, he will want regular football to stay in England contention. And then there is Gabriel Jesus. Arsenal have reportedly offered Real Madrid the chance to sign him as a short-term option, but that move looks unlikely. Still, with his contract running down and interest growing, January could be decisive. In my opinion, this is a huge moment for Arsenal. Arteta needs silverware, Andrea Berta needs to be bold. January does not need to be dramatic, but it does need to be decisive. So Arsenal fans, I want your thoughts. Should Arsenal keep pushing for Semeno? Would Bartesaghi be a smart long-term signing? And who do you think could leave in January? Drop your opinions in the comments. Arsenal are right back where they want to be. Top of the Premier League table. A big win, big pressure, and now a massive test coming on Tuesday night. The Gunners return to the summit of the league after a hard-fought victory over Brighton at the Emirates Stadium. A 2-1 win, 3 huge points, and another statement in the title race. Martin Odegaard once again led by example, opening the scoring and controlling the tempo like a true captain. Arsenal doubled their lead through an unfortunate own goal, but it was no more than they deserved for their dominance. Brighton did pull one back, which made the final minutes nervy, but Arsenal showed maturity, discipline and resilience to see the game out. That win pushed Arsenal back above Manchester City, who had briefly gone top earlier in the day. It may have only been for a few hours, but those details matter in a title race this tight. Momentum matters. Belief matters. And now all eyes turn to Tuesday, because this is not just another league game. This is Arsenal versus Aston Villa, a direct title rival, a team in frightening form. Villa are flying right now. They have won 11 games in a row. They just came from behind to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And Ollie Watkins has already sent a message saying Villa are worrying the teams around them. That tells you everything. This is a proper test for Mikel Arteta's side. In my opinion, this game will show us exactly where Arsenal are mentally. Last season, these were the types of games that caused problems. This season feels different. There is more control, more calm, more leadership. But there are concerns. Arsenal are still dealing with injuries. Ben White remains out. Jurriën Timber missed the Brighton game after landing awkwardly in training. Ricardo Calafiori had to be withdrawn in the warm-up, which raises questions over his availability. Christian Mosquera is sidelined for weeks and Kai Havertz is close but not fully ready yet. The positive news is Gabriel's return. Even coming off the bench, his presence changes everything. Arsenal are a different team when he is available. Another key moment was Martin Zubimendi avoiding suspension. With this busy festive period, that could be massive. Arsenal need his control and intelligence in midfield against a Villa side that presses aggressively. Let's be honest, Aston Villa will not come to the Emirates to sit back. They will attack, they will press, they will believe they can win. That is why Arsenal must start fast. In my opinion, the Emirates crowd will be crucial. Tuesday night under the lights, top of the table, revenge on the mind after the last defeat to Unai Emery. This has all the ingredients of a defining moment in the season. Win this game, and Arsenal send a huge message to Manchester City, to Liverpool and to the rest of the league. Drop points and the pressure instantly returns. There is no time to celebrate the Brighton win. Title races do not wait. So Arsenal fans, I want your thoughts. Is this the biggest game of the season so far? Are you confident Arsenal can stop Villa's momentum? And who has to step up on Tuesday night? Drop your opinions in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Gunners Talk Daily so you never miss any Arsenal breaking news, match previews, injury updates or exclusive squad stories. In transfer news, Arsenal are balancing a packed fixture schedule with growing attention on the January transfer window. The Gunners will sit top of the Premier League at Christmas, but there is no time to relax. Matches are coming every few days for Mikel Arteta and squad management is becoming critical. Rotation, fitness and depth will define this period. While Arsenal spent around £250 million in the summer, January is expected to be very different, with careful decisions and selective opportunities rather than big spending. That said, transfer links never stop, and fresh names continue to emerge as Arsenal plan for both the present and the future. Ayyoub Badi and Konstantinos Karetsas are two young talents now being watched closely by sporting director Andrea Berta. So let's get into the latest Arsenal news and transfer updates for another big day. Arsenal currently lead the Premier League and are competing strongly on all fronts. As Christmas Day arrives, they sit 2 points clear of Manchester City, with Aston Villa close behind in third place. Liverpool, the reigning champions, have struggled this season and are no longer seen as a major threat in the title race. The Gunners are chasing their first league title in more than 20 years, and last summer's recruitment has played a huge role. High-profile signings like Victor Gyökeres and Eberechi Eze have added quality, goals and confidence to Arteta's squad. However, everyone at the club knows Manchester City never go away. If Arsenal keep their lead, the pressure will remain constant. One slip can change everything, and that is why strengthening the squad in January, even slightly, could make a big difference. Team Talk report that the Gunners want to reinforce their attacking department and see Kenan Yildiz as a serious option. Arsenal have been tracking his development for some time and are now considering whether to make a move. Yildiz is under contract at Juventus until 2029, but talks over a new deal have stalled. Juventus want to renew his contract with a pay rise, while the player is believed to be asking for a package worth around £5 million per year. Negotiations have slowed in recent weeks as Juventus focus on appointing a new sporting director. They are close to confirming Marco Ottolini, and once that happens, it should become clearer whether Juventus are willing to meet Yıldız's demands. If an agreement cannot be reached, a transfer could be on the table, even though Yıldız's priority is to remain in Turin. Arsenal are not alone in the race. Chelsea and Tottenham are also showing strong interest and are believed to be making more concrete moves behind the scenes. Despite Juventus being inconsistent this season, Yıldız has taken his game to another level. He has already registered 13 goal contributions across all competitions and continues to be one of their standout performers. Another interesting idea being discussed is a possible double move involving AC Milan. Reports from Italy suggest Arsenal are keeping tabs on Davide Bartesaghi and Lorenzo Torriani. Bartesaghi is a 19-year-old left-back, while Torriani is a 20-year-old goalkeeper. Both have already featured at senior level and are highly rated at Milan. Any deal is more likely in the summer, but Arsenal's recruitment strategy has shifted towards securing young talent early. This helps protect the club financially in the long term and prevents bidding wars later on. Despite all the speculation, the reality is that January is expected to be quiet compared to the summer. Arsenal spent more than £250 million on 8 players last summer, and football insiders understand that significant investment in January is unlikely. The club remains aware of UEFA financial regulations and is being cautious. The injury to Kai Havertz earlier in the season forced Arsenal to act aggressively in the market despite internal concerns. Andrea Berta also managed a smart loan deal for Piero Hincapié, but only after Jakub Kiwior joined Porto on loan. There are still 2 Premier League loan spots available, but finding players of the right quality in January is never easy. One player being closely monitored across Europe is Ethan Nwaneri. Top clubs in England and Germany are watching his situation carefully. He was close to leaving in the summer but ultimately signed a new deal. For now, he remains on the fringes of regular first-team minutes. Meanwhile, pressure from Manchester City continues. Pep Guardiola has reportedly weighed his players and warned them not to overindulge during Christmas. Any player who returns out of condition will not feature against Nottingham Forest. Guardiola even refused his squad a day off after a recent win, making it clear standards will not drop. City midfielder Tijani Reinders has also said they must keep pushing Arsenal as the title race intensifies. So Arsenal may be top, but the challenge is relentless. The coming weeks will define everything: Carabao Cup progression, Premier League consistency, squad fitness, and smart planning for January. Now I want to hear from you. Should Arsenal sign a midfielder like Badi in January or wait until the summer? Would you take a quiet window if it leads to a Premier League title? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Gunners Talk Daily for all the latest Arsenal news. Arsenal have already made direct contact with the entourage of Lille midfielder Ayyoub Badi. Sporting director Andrea Berta is personally leading the talks for the 18-year-old, and this is not just background interest. Reports from France say Arsenal are preparing to move quickly and are ready to make an offer as early as next month. The Gunners want to get ahead of their rivals and are prepared to bid around €45 million, which is roughly £39 million, for the French under-21 international. Chelsea are also willing to pay a similar fee, and both Premier League clubs are currently the most advanced in discussions. However, this is not an easy deal. PSG, Manchester City, Manchester United and Liverpool are all closely monitoring Bouadi's situation. Lille are fully aware of the interest and have already protected themselves by extending his contract until 2029. They will only consider selling for a fee above €50 million, which is close to £44 million. A summer move had been expected, but Arsenal now want to strike early. Bouadi himself has made it clear that his focus is still on this season. He said that next year is still far away and that he is fully focused on the current campaign. He also admitted that at the end of the season, a decision will be made and that anything can happen. Mikel Arteta has already hinted that Arsenal will be ready to act in January if needed. He recently said the club must always be prepared, protect the squad, and be alert to any risks that appear before the window closes. This lines up perfectly with what we are seeing now. After a dramatic penalty shootout win over Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup quarter-final, Arsenal are entering a brutal run of fixtures. 3 games in 7 days, injuries starting to stack up and rotation becoming essential. Gabriel Martinelli picked up a knock against Palace and was forced off. Piero Hincapié missed the match entirely with what Arteta described as a different injury. Riccardo Calafiori took a heavy blow to the head but managed to finish the game, while Christian Mosquera remains ruled out for the festive period with an ankle injury. Despite progressing to the semi-finals, Arteta admitted it was emotionally tough to concede late and that the margins at the top level are incredibly small. He praised the team's composure and highlighted how important it is to win games in different ways if you want to lift trophies. With 2 Premier League home games coming up and revenge on the agenda against Aston Villa, squad depth is becoming a serious talking point. That is why Arsenal are actively monitoring both defensive and midfield options. In defence, the club admire Rennes centre-back Jeremy Jacquet. Marc Guehi remains a long-term option, especially given his connections with England players already at Arsenal. Ousmane Diomanda is being watched, though he may renew his contract, while Nathaniel Brown of Eintracht Frankfurt is also on Andrea Berta's list for his versatility. In midfield, despite signing Martin Zubimendi in the summer and adding Christian Norgård, Arsenal want a young long-term option to support Zubimendi and Declan Rice during the intense title run-in. That is where Badi fits perfectly. Meanwhile, potential departures could shape January plans. Gabriel Jesus continues to be linked with AC Milan, Palmeiras and Flamengo. Milan are considering a loan with an option to buy, but Jesus has publicly stated he wants to stay and believes he has unfinished business at Arsenal. Now for huge contract news. Bukayo Saka is reportedly close to signing a new deal that would keep him at Arsenal until 2031. The contract is expected to be worth around £300,000 per week, making him the highest paid player at the club. This would be a massive statement and clear proof that Arsenal are building their future around Saka. Finally, Antoine Semeno remains on Arsenal's radar. Several top clubs are interested and his release clause becomes active in January. A move would likely depend on player sales due to financial rules, but there is growing belief he may not still be at Bournemouth by the summer. So despite expectations of a quiet January, Arsenal are alert, prepared and ready to act. Let me know in the comments. Should Arsenal spend big in January or trust the squad they have built? Arsenal's dramatic penalty shootout victory over Crystal Palace was the first of 3 games in just 7 days, and it underlined exactly how demanding the festive period is about to be for this squad. After 90 intense minutes at the Emirates Stadium, the quarter-final finished 1-1 before Arsenal edged through 8-7 on penalties, with Kepa Arrizabalaga emerging as the hero. It was a result that showed composure, mentality and character, but it also came at a cost. With Brighton and Aston Villa both coming to the Emirates in the Premier League to close out 2025, Arteta will now be desperately hoping for positive injury news as rotation becomes unavoidable. Let's start with the latest injury updates. Gabriel Martinelli was forced off just before the hour mark against Palace after picking up a knock. Speaking after the game, Arteta confirmed it was not a muscle issue but discomfort that prevented the Brazilian from continuing. His availability for the Brighton game is now in question, with the situation being monitored closely. Piero Hincapié was another surprise absence. Despite playing the full 90 minutes against Everton days earlier, the Ecuadorian was left out of the squad entirely. Arteta admitted post-match that the injury was different, offering little clarity but sparking concern given Arsenal's ongoing defensive issues. Riccardo Calafiori also caused a moment of panic late in the game. The Italian took a heavy blow to the head in the build-up to Palace's stoppage-time equaliser and required medical attention.